everybody. We are live to discuss AEW Dynamite for March 18th, 2020, and also some breaking news regarding WrestleMania. I am not alone tonight. I am being joined by longtime NoDQ.com contributor, good old JM, Jeff Meacham. Jeff, how you doing? Been a busy couple of days here in wrestling.
It's amazing how quickly things come together. You know, I go from not appearing on any podcast, including my own, for the last couple of weeks. All of a sudden, I've been on, my own show twice and your show twice. So there you go.
Yeah, thank you for being on tonight, Jeff. I do appreciate it.
It is always good to come home, Aaron. Always.
We have a $2 super chat from Tom McCarthy. He says, Aaron Rift versus COVID-19 at WrestleMania in a last man standing match. There you go.
Right.
Well, we're still going. The show must go on. And speaking of the show must going on, AEW went full force tonight with their show. And we'll talk about it. I have my notes here. And Jeff, you did watch AEW tonight. Not much on NXT. I'm going to go ahead right now and recap NXT for everybody. For those of you that missed NXT, here's what happened. We had Triple H and Tom Phillips in the studio with the NXT logo in the background. We had a documentary, basically, between Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. Yeah. They were talking back and forth, and it was basically the story of their run together as a tag team as DIY, the heel turn when Ciampa turned against Gargano, and then them reuniting, and then them splitting up again. This took up over an hour of NXT, maybe about an hour and 15 minutes of the show. We have a $2 super chat from Nelson Moreno. He says, by far my favorite episode. I think he's talking about Dynamite, not
probably
NXT. And then after that, we had a Finn Balor video package. They did show some footage from the Johnny Gargano versus Finn Balor match at TakeOver Portland. And also we had a Rhea Ripley video package showing her rise, her beating Shayna Baszler, and then getting into the mix with Charlotte Flair. So, Jeff, I'm going to ask you, what were your thoughts on NXT basically just doing a video package show, no wrestling? What were your thoughts?
I'm of two minds, and that's, of course, if Jeff Meacham, there's no short answer. Honestly, I like the fact that they went deep into the Gargano-Ciampa feud. For those of us that, have invested themselves in Johnny and Tommaso's feud and wanted to kind of relive what's going on the past, God, it's been over 2 years, if I'm not mistaken correctly. Right. So, it's been a very, I dare say it's been the most compelling feud in NXT history. It's been the most dynamic. It's had the most back and forth plot lines going back and forth between the two of them. And it was a cool little recap if you saw it. I didn't get to see it, so I'll have to take your word for it when I watch on the network tomorrow. But overall, I think they knew that AEW was going to come out balls out. And the fact that they chose not to shows that, you know what, we're getting a lot of flack already for, having these, in arena shows without people in the arena. So let's see how a recap does. I think they're going to come up. I think they're going to come up way short on the ratings this week than they have in previous weeks with AEW. So we'll see what happens.
Oh yeah, I think it'll be like the January 1st show where AEW was live and NXT was essentially a year-end awards show.
Exactly, yeah.
Taped show. So I think AEW is going to easily beat NXT this week in the numbers, but it really doesn't matter this week. I mean, I think under the circumstances, who cares about the ratings,
Well, right. I mean, they're not concerned about the ratings at this point, but, for the hardcore denizens of ratings versus ratings, it's going to be an ugly one-sided thing tonight. Excuse me 1 second, quickly.
All right.
Hi, live YouTube.
Hey, go.
I gotta get some books for school.
Excuse you.
Coronavirus.
Oh, don't mind.
Dylan Meacham making a cameo here on our live stream.
Yeah, we're actually live. We're not recording. We're actually
live.
Yeah,
we are 100% live,
I
Dylan.
see it right there.
Yeah.
All right, thank
I'm
you.
just in the shadow.
All right.
Bye, YouTube. This has been Dylan Meacham. Over and out.
All right. Thank you for that, Dylan. All right. Let's get back on track here before we
Let's get back. I'm sorry.
Before we
I'm
get
sorry,
the thumbs down.
Yeah.
Psycho
Here go
Chet
the thumbs
Black.
downs.
Psycho Chet Black with a $2 super chat says, "Who was the bigger jerk, Zack Ryder or Rift Aronson?" Jeff, what do you think?
I've not met Rift Aronson in person, and the one time I did meet Zach, he kind of no-sold the fact that we wanted to be Roasties of the Week. So I'll go with Zach for now.
Yeah, I agree. Zack Ryder's the bigger jerk because he made me shave my head. Rift Aronson never did that.
Yeah, and what's stupid is that he got us both to shave our heads and he lost the belt the next night, so he can just doubly kiss my ass.
Absolutely, I agree 100%. Now, Big G sent in a $5 super chat, says, "Glad to the OGs of NoDQ.com together. If there was a NoDQ Hall of Fame, good old JM should be the first one inducted." I agree on that.
Well, there is a NoDQ Hall of Fame, but we don't induct ourselves because we're not, DX. So, so.
Pretty much. Now, let's go ahead and talk about AEW, since that is a hot topic right now. AEW's first empty arena show. They were in Jacksonville, Florida at Daly's Place. The show opened up with the lights dimmed and Cody Rhodes was in the ring. He said he never thought of this world as small before, but now he realizes that it's very important what they're doing as entertainers, and he asked the wrestlers to put aside their petty differences and work together, have some unity. Human beings need to stand together. And then he talked about how AEW and everyone refuses to live in fear, and he hopes that everybody watching at home feels alive. And they did pan away to the empty building, talking about how he's standing at a distance from the audience, but they're still there watching. He praised Tony Khan for AEW existing, and then he talked about the Elite and how in the Blood and Guts match they need to work together. The Elite needs to be the Elite. We had Matt Jackson and Kenny Omega come to the ring, and Omega said this is just friends talking to friends, and he doesn't know if there's going to be a Dynamite next week, which was very interesting because later on during the show when they were previewing matches for the next Dynamite, they just referred to it as the next Dynamite. They did not use the words next week. So
exactly.
Yeah, I don't know what that means exactly. If maybe they feel
very
there's a chance.
subtle thing there. So
yeah, maybe there's concern that they might be shut down next week. Who knows? But hopefully not. Hopefully they can go on as scheduled. Hangman Page walked out with a beer. Matt wanted to know if Page will stand with them, and Page just responded by lifting up his glass a little bit, walked off. And then Omega said to the people at home that even though it's hard to feel the energy, he knows they're there, and said that they will give the fans the very best show they can. Everyone needs some positivity. And then he finished it off by saying, "God damn, hit the lights." Lights came on, pyro went off, and the announcers did the introduction. So, Jeff, I thought this was an excellent promo from start to finish from everybody. Cody did a fantastic job. What were your thoughts on this?
I loved every bit of it. I loved every single bit of it. I enjoyed thoroughly the idea that, we're still going to do our show, but we're coming together and we're going to do it the best way we can. And we're going to keep you guys entertained, which is what we're supposed to do. We're not supposed to sit there and live in fear. And I find it very funny that a lot of these companies, whether it be WWE or AEW, whatever, are encouraging us not to live in fear, because I seem to remember a time about 19 years ago, maybe a little bit less now, where we had our world leaders encouraging us not to live in fear and move on with our lives. So yes, we can't go outside and go, down to the Starbucks or go to the movies or whatever, but we can turn on TNT, turn on USA, turn on the WWE Network or whatever, and kick back for a couple hours and just go, you know what? Screw it. I got it.
Absolutely.
So very cool message from the Elite. I liked that they still tease that Adam's still not 100% sold on the teaming up, so we would see later how things would play out.
All right, we do have a few super chats here, so let's get to those. The first one comes from George Robbins with $5. Thank you for that, George. He says, Aaron, always been a huge WWE guy since I was 5, but I got to say AEW has been amazing lately. Super exciting and unpredictable. Major props. I agree with that 100%, George, and thank you again. Mike B with a $2 super chat said, "Who had the bigger debut tonight? Incredible show." We're going to talk about that. We'll definitely We'll definitely get to those debuts here in just a few moments, so hang tight. And Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat with a request. So Jeff, I guess we gotta take him up on this. He says, "Can you sing the American Males theme?" I think we can. Maybe not very well.
Do you want just the chorus, or do you actually want the words? Because I can look up the words and
Wait a minute.
I actually look at the actual words.
American males.
American males.
American males. American males.
American males. Yeah, I can look up the chorus, the verse words if you guys want. Give me like 5 minutes.
Okay, if you want to look it up while we continue, maybe we'll give everybody an encore in just a little bit. But yeah, great way to start this week's edition of AEW Dynamite. And Virtue has a bold prediction. He thinks AEW will do 1 million tonight. They might, out of curiosity, people tuning in, and especially with NXT being a recap show, essentially. I think AEW will at least do 900,000. AEW will get close to 1 million, if not hit 1 million. NXT, I feel like they'll probably do between 500 and 600,000. But yeah, pretty safe to say AEW will easily win this week.
Yeah, and again, neither company is really up on that right now, but when it comes down to it, yeah, there is a ratings war going on, and right now, I think there's no question AEW knocked out of the park. NXT barely hit a blipper up the baseline, so
Yeah. All right, so let's move on here. We had MJF and Tony Schiavone in the front row. MJF was interviewed. He said the winner's purse wasn't really enough for him to bother wrestling on the show. So he said he's going to let the undercard talent get their TV time. And then we had Sean Spears exchanging money with MJF, and Tony Schiavone started accusing MJF of gambling. So during this show, we had the heels on one side, some of the heels, like a good half dozen of them, on one side of ringside, and then on the other side, we had the baby faces, which I thought was great because it gave us somewhat of a crowd, somewhat of a back and forth, the heels cheering for the heels, the faces cheering for the faces. So to me, that was already a big step above what WWE has been doing the past 2 shows. Nelson Moreno with a $2 super chat says, MJF was great tonight. I agree. I enjoyed all the stuff with MJF throughout the evening. Jeff, your thoughts on the heels and faces being there at ringside?
I loved Max's stuff. Max was on point all night. He was being a complete, very MJF, being a douchebag from start to finish. He was so cocky and so full of himself. And he was the only heel that I saw that was actually full-on selling when Jericho came out and everybody else was doing what they were doing with Jericho's entrance. So other than the Inner Circle, obviously, Max was just on tonight. Max showed exactly why he is the guy that AEW has pointed as one of the top heels of the future of the company. Just great work by him. I like the setup of the heels and the faces overall. I wish they'd do that with Raw and SmackDown, but I get that AEW is more, insider friendly, if that makes any sense at all, as far as they acknowledge that we know that they know, so having the guys outside the ring is kind of a tongue in cheek, like, okay, they're here, whatever, they're gonna be the crowd, whereas I don't think Vince would do that. So
our first match of the evening was the Best Friends versus the Lucha Brothers. Lucha Brothers, as well as a lot of people on this show, had pyro for their entrances.
Which is cool.
The venue really worked out nicely for AEW, and I just wanted to say the way they shot it with the hard camera pointing towards the stage, it made it look good despite the fact that there were no people there, as opposed to WWE where they had this shot of the empty seats. So this was shot better, and the fact that they were in Daly's place actually worked out quite nicely because they were able to do the pyro. The problem with the Performance Center is it's too small of a building to do the pyro.
And the fact is, Daly's has been AEW's home for their existence. So having that already set up almost seems like a predestination paradox. Like it was meant to happen this way. So it's kind of cool.
Right. We had Orange Cassidy on commentary for this match, and he was falling asleep. He had his feet on the desk. Yeah. He said nothing. He did get involved, though, during the match. He stood up, distracted the Lucha Brothers on more than one occasion, and then he did his little hands in his pocket. I guess it's the leap of faith off the top of the stage onto the Lucha Brothers. But then with a low blow, the Lucha Brothers were able to come back, and they did the package pile driver combination to pin Trent Beretta. And MJF was taunting Spears. I guess MJF won the first match bet.
Yep, he did.
And then after the match, we had the Best Friends interviewed by Tony Schiavone. Chuck Taylor was pissed off that the Lucha Brothers kicked his friend in the dick.
That's
when the referee was distracted. And as a result, he decided to challenge the Lucha Brothers to a street fight in the parking lot on the next episode of Dynamite, which is another creative way to do a match in a different type of setting, doing a parking lot brawl. Reminds me of back when John Cena had the parking lot brawl. Was it with Eddie Guerrero?
Eddie, yep.
Yeah. So what did you think of
But that
this
was
match?
also a lot of people in that circle of cars. So that's the other thing. It's kind of, you got to find the balance there.
Yeah.
But before you get to the super chat, I got to ask something. Those of you guys in the chat room talking about Waffle House, if anybody out there can, if I ever do get back east, take me to a Waffle House. I've never been. I really want to see how it works.
It's pretty good.
I keep hearing good things.
Pretty good. So Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat says, "Is the Shockmaster more over than the Red Rooster?" Yes, I would say so.
I think EC3 is more over than the Red Rooster. Let's be honest. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah. Well,
sorry, Gary. Just saying.
Yeah. Red Rooster.
Say, Terry, it is what it is, man.
Terry Taylor wasn't exactly the cock of the walk. Let's just put it that way.
But he was terrific.
Yeah. Or terrible Terry.
Or terrible Terry, yeah. Or Terrence.
Terrence, yeah. Dylan with a $2 super chat says, "Just curious, Jeff, how many AEW shows have you seen?" Ooh, he's putting on the spot.
I've actually seen every single one. So yeah.
Whoa! Okay, there you go.
Every single one live on TNT. I've seen most of the pay-per-views in some way or another. So I'm not an AEW. I'm not anti-AEW. I just watch NXT more. However, when they told me that NXT was going to be on Thursdays, and you can ask Aaron this, I told him this directly. When they moved NXT to the network the next day, I went, oh, there you go. I'll watch AEW on Wednesdays, NXT on Thursdays.
There you go. Works out quite nicely.
Every single one on TNT. So don't be hating. Don't be hating.
I have to say this was a little bit easier for me this week because I really did not have to pay much attention to NXT. The previous 6 months, I've been having to watch both shows simultaneously, and that's been quite the challenge. So thank you, WWE.
Now let me ask you: Do you stream one on TV and one on your computer? How do you do that on Wednesdays? What do you do?
One on the TV, one on the phone.
Okay, yeah, because when I was streaming both before I got smart, and I wasn't doing the recaps on Wednesdays, I would just watch NXT on my tablet and AEW on my TV. So there you go.
All right, Detective Mocha with a $2 super chat says, "Told ya AEW just had to acknowledge ... AEW won this."
Well, of course they did.
Yeah.
I don't think there was any doubt they were going to win the night anyway, because when the minute NXT said basically, and not as many words, but recap show, that they were dead in the water.
Ken says, "I wonder if Jeff watches NWA Power."
When they actually broadcast Power episodes, yes, I do. I watched the first Circle Squared because I was asked to be a part of that and give my reactions, but I was unable to get the videos done in time. I didn't watch Circle Squared. I think it was last week. And I would have watched Power yesterday, but I was recording with Aaron, number one. And number two, they broadcast NWA 70, which I've yet to watch, and I will. So.
All right.
So the only thing I refuse flat out to watch that's available to me is Impact, because I tried so hard and I just couldn't get through it.
Yeah, I mean, it's all right, but it's like there's so many other shows at this point,
there's just so much wrestling out there for all of us to absorb. And if we're going to go into full-on shutdown mode here in the next few weeks, then I'd rather spend my, $10 a month and my electricity and my energy on the classic stuff they have on the network than I will on, Impact or whatever. So we'll see.
Sam just sent in a $2 super chat. Says, Jeff, glad you're okay. I saw your tweet a few days ago.
Yeah, I won't get too much into it. I kind of had a little of a mental breakdown here last week and was looking to check in to get help, but with Dylan's school shutting down and everything, it kind of took precedence. So I'm home and we're here and we're getting through it.
Yeah, I mean, one day at a time. That's sometimes all you can do.
You know what? It's funny. I liken my mental health struggles to the alcoholics and the addicts. One day at a time.
And, it's good to have a support group. In times like this, with all the craziness with the coronavirus, it's good to have other people that you can talk to and have that circle here.
It's very lucky that I have a therapist in the extended family.
Yeah, very true.
Put it that way.
And hopefully that therapist won't be mad that you're mentioning this person's a therapist on the air live.
I wouldn't dare mention this person outright. Just they know who they are.
All right. Let's move on here and get back to the recap before we start getting those thumbs downs. We only have 3 at the moment, so we'll see if that lasts. We had our Fatal 4-Way women's match. Penelope Ford versus Riho versus Hikaru Shida versus Chris Statlander. You had Kip Sabian, the main squeeze of Penelope Ford on the outside. He got beat up by the ladies on a couple of occasions. He got a knee strike from Riho off the apron. And then Shida hit a Falcon Arrow onto Ford, followed by a knee strike, and it was Shida who scored the pinfall victory. How are you feeling about this match and the women's division in AEW at this point in time?
Well, the first thing I that came to my mind when I saw these 4 women walk out is I still love Riho's look and presentation, but I feel that she's just another cog in the chain now that she's lost the title. Like, there's nothing special about her overall other than she's like this big and is, super duper athletic, which is fine, but she's not special like she was when she was the first world's champion. So overall, I think the division is improving slowly. I think we're seeing way too much of Chris. They're overexposing her. I mean, this is, I think, the third week in a row she's been on Dynamite in the women's division match. So that's a little much. They need to diversify. Penelope seems to be getting better and better. I got no problem with her. I like her and Kit's shtick. I love the interaction with Colt after that was funnier than hell. And I think they're doing the right things. I just don't think people are being patient enough in them doing the right things to improve the division. And you got to remember, we're coming off a huge resurgence of women's wrestling in the WWE. So anybody's going to seem second best or playing catch up right now.
Absolutely. Now, I thought that this was Penelope Ford's best showing to date. It was really the first time she's had a chance to showcase what she can do in the ring. Like, she's basically been out there as the valet for Kip Sabian. This was her defining moment, I think, in AEW up to this point, and we'll see if maybe she can start to build some momentum in the upcoming weeks and months.
Oh, by the way, please do not take Virtue's advice and do a shot every time I move my glasses. You guys will be in alcohol poisoning treatment by the time the show's over.
Yeah,
please don't do that.
That's very true. Like we've talked about this before.
Yeah, please don't do anything based on my mannerisms. You guys will all be dead.
Yeah, the glasses tip is Jeff Meacham trademark since 2007.
Well, yeah, between the glasses and the clearing of the throats and the nose thing, yeah, you guys will be shooting. You know, if you shoot anything stronger than vodka, you guys will be dead meat.
Pretty much. All right, so Tom McCarthy with a $2 super chat says, JM, should WWE do an off-season after WrestleMania because of coronavirus? We'll talk about that here in a few minutes, but to sum it up,
yes.
You think so?
Well, okay, short answer, yes. Long answer, we'll get into that later.
Okay. Thank you for the super chat. Much appreciated. All right, let's move on here to the next segment of the show, which was Jon Moxley. He was shown earlier in the day arriving to the building. Tony Schiavone interviewed him. It was revealed that Moxley is not medically cleared to appear in the building. Hopefully he doesn't have coronavirus. He said, when has he ever been medically cleared? And he said he's going to go take a drive and blow off a little steam. He said he will forever be in the inner circle's blind spot. And then he got in his fancy blue car, which had the Mox license plate. I believe that's the car Jericho gave him, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And he took off. And we never saw him again. So I guess he'll just pop in whenever the situation warrants it.
There's probably more to that we're not being told as far as his status, as far as injury or whatever. There's probably something there that we don't know about. So,
no, I hope not. I hope it's just a storyline. But anyways, let's move on here. We had the Butcher and Blade versus the Jurassic Express. MJF was talking strategy with Butcher and Blade, and you had the baby faces out there trying to cheer on the Jurassic Express. Luchasaurus got the hot tag. Him and the Butcher traded some blows back and forth. MJF was trying to shout out instructions. Match broke down with all four guys in the ring. Jurassic Express hit the powerbomb cutter combination, and Luchasaurus pinned Blade to win the match. Your thoughts on this match, and who do you think has the most momentum of these individuals at this point?
I'm curious if they're going to keep going with MJF and the Butcher and the Blade against Jurassic long term, because I don't mind the dynamic. I think it's a cool little dynamic. I do think, however, that with Wardlow being there, either they're going to need a fourth on the Jurassic team, or they need to have the match they announced later on Dynamite be the blow-off, because Wardlow seems like he's good in small doses as far as in the ring. I've only seen one of his matches. It was okay, but it was what it was. It was a cage match, and it was designed to be a Cody killer. So I'll wait and see what happens with him and Luchasaurus when they do that match. How about that?
And I agree. I think I think Luchasaurus is great. I think he's one of the best talents as far as potential star power goes in AEW. And
dude's got charisma forever.
Yeah,
Just
so
amazing.
Yeah, hopefully they'll keep pushing him and keep getting him into the mix in the coming weeks and months. All right, Jeremy Dorset says, what's next for AEW and NXT? Well, we are doing a great no DQ debate tomorrow night, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 Pacific. Virtue and Stephen Osborne will be with us, and there will be a very interesting debate about the two shows. So make sure you guys tune in if you're liking this video. Going to be a fun one tomorrow night, and I'm sure Jeff will be in the chat room, maybe.
And maybe answering Virtue's question, if somebody wants to market a Jeff Meacham bobblehead, I'll co-sign and take the profits. I'm all about it, Virtue.
There you go. All right, debate. All right, so now we got a pretty big segment to talk about. We have Evil Uno and the Dark Order coming out for their reveal promo, and he talked about how the Exalted One is near and will bring new life to the Dark Order. SCU, they were tired of this. Daniels got on the mic and said they need to stop running their mouths. And Daniels said that Uno has not made the Dark Order any better. He says there is no Exalted One. And as he was talking, we had an interruption from a video package with this mystery man with a distorted voice talking about how he is there, he does exist, and he revealed himself as the man formerly known as Luke Harper, now known as Brodie Lee. And he said that Christopher Daniels is an out-of-touch old man and is not the first out-of-touch old man to not believe in him. That was a nice little shot there at Vince. Renzo, with a $2 super chat, says, I'm late, but AEW took your heel face crowd idea. Yeah, a couple of people mentioned that. I'm sure I'm not the only person that has suggested that, by the way.
Once again, no DQ's ahead of the curve.
So we had Brodie Lee pop up in the ring and the Dark Order beat the crap out of SCU. Man, this was a great debut. And again, I feel bad that we had no crowd because the pop for this would have been unreal, but it was still great. I still was like, holy shit, this is so awesome. This is so cool. Great debut for him. Your thoughts, JM?
Well, the pop I had in my bedroom scared the crap out of my dad. That's for sure. What the hell? Who am I? I said, Brodie Lee. Who? Luke Harper. Oh, okay, cool. So, very cool. I'm so happy for him. Long time coming. I am not surprised he debuted the way he debuted as the Ultimate One. I'm also very tickled that he took that shot because Lord knows somebody had to, because he's absolutely right. Vince completely gave up on him and completely said, I've got nothing for you. And within a 2-minute video package and a 2-minute beatdown, he became the most relevant guy in wrestling until the end of the night anyway. But yeah, Brodie Lee is more over now than he's been probably since the initial breakup of the Wyatts. So good for him.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those old school WWE type debuts where in one night he felt like a bigger deal than his entire career, which is...
Yeah, it very much felt like we were watching the Monday Night Wars where somebody jumps ship and it's like, wow, game changer.
Yeah, as somebody mentioned in the chat room earlier, it definitely has that Monday Night War feel where you have these debuts and, this idea that anything can happen, and it's really cool.
And what's funny is, in the Monday Night Wars, we weren't so internet savvy where we knew things were going to happen when they happened, but yet, even knowing that Brodie was on his way, and even knowing what was going to happen later, the fact that it still happened, we were completely shocked. And it was just like, wow, this is great, it's happening. So AEW is definitely going to be the place to be Wednesday nights, I have a feeling, which is why I don't mind watching NXT the next day on the network. So.
Right. Now, Psycho Jet Black just sent in a $2 super chat. He says, should WWE and AEW pipe in fake crowd noises? Yeah, we did have Stefan bring up the idea of them possibly doing that. I don't know if that would be a good idea.
What he said yesterday was if they were to completely LED the hell out of that performance center and, put in, fake crowds where, the video boards look like there's a crowd in the audience, that's one thing. But if you're going to pump noise in there, like Goldberg style, and have nobody there to actually make the noise along with it, it's going to look really hokey really quick.
Yeah, I mean, that could be very cringy. I'm not sure if that would be an idea that would work. Plus, I'm not sure if WWE has the technology. Stefan seems to think so, but I don't know. I'm not sure.
But you know what? Do any of us really know how much technology they have at their disposal up there in Connecticut or down there in Florida? No, because we don't have the $2,000 to go take a PC tour. So,
right.
Until we know for sure, maybe they'll pull it off. But you know what? With the announcement, now we'll see what happens. So
right. Now we had Jake Roberts interviewed by Tony Schiavone at Ringside, and Jake said Lance Archer is not there to talk and said they are not there to play games. Cody is ignoring them, and as far as Jake is concerned, that's like spitting in his face. And Jake said it's time for Cody to stand up, and they will get Cody's attention one way or another. And then we had a Lance Archer video package. He had a ring set up in a backyard, it looked like, and a bunch of people were surrounding the ring, and he beat up some guys. So your thought on Lance Archer up to this point?
Loving it. Love the presentation. Love Jake being the mouthpiece, everything. The video package was really cool. I told you I kind of like the Hardy compound at first. It kind of looked like, they're set up back there. So maybe that was shot there. Maybe that was shot, at one of the, or maybe in the Jackson's, backyard. I don't know. But it was a very cool setup, very cool shot. I liked how they pulled it off. And I enjoy thoroughly that Jake the Snake Roberts is getting a chance to be a mouthpiece for anybody, because if you recall, and this is going back to 1992, so everybody younger than that, I'm sorry, but Aaron will remember Jake, Cactus, Barbarian, and I think Buzz Sawyer for a brief moment in time were thought about as a 4-man unit in WCW when Jake was there. So they were thinking about having Jake be a mouthpiece even back then as a part-time wrestler and a full-time mouthpiece. So he's always had that in him. And now here we are, it's almost been 20 years since that I just mentioned. So Jake's got a gift of gab. He always has, he always will. And having him talk for Archer, who is not the best linguist on the planet, let's be real, he's a wrestler, he's a fighter. So good pairing. I love it.
Absolutely. We had announcements for next week's show. Wardlow will be in a lumberjack match. That was announced for next week. And also the Lucha Brothers versus Best Friends in a parking lot street fight, which I mentioned earlier. And then, of course...
Well, it'll be next show. It didn't say next week.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. That's right. Next edition of
Next
Dynamite.
episode of Dynamite, whenever that may be.
And they said that Nick Jackson is out with an injury, so it's 4-on-5. And then we had our main event, which was to determine which team would get the advantage at the Blood and Guts match. Ken Terminated by Google sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Ken. He says, has Brodie Lee always been a great talker, ? If he is as good as Kevin Sullivan or Jake, I need to check Brodie's promos. He's good, but, I mean, he hasn't really had much of a chance.
Right, I was going to say, he's a very good on-mic person, but Sullivan and Jake are just above and beyond, especially Jake. I mean, Kevin's the devil himself, man, baby. He's the devil. But I think Kevin in his prime was very, very good. Jake is still very, very good. Brodie, we'll see how it goes. If he's going to be this exalted one, this head of the Dark Order, he's got to talk a great game. So we'll see how it plays out.
All right, so we had Inner Circle versus the Elite. Billy Gunn and his son were at ringside. We had some people switching in and out throughout the evening to come out there and be part of the crowd, which was cool. Jericho came out. He was on commentary for the match. Really funny moment was when Sammy Guevara started singing, and MJF was singing a little bit too. I loved it. I thought this was great. They got to keep
that was
the
best part
going.
Of the night for me, honestly.
Yeah, this was really funny. Great moment here.
It's really cool that they acknowledge the fact that the crowd is singing along with Jericho's song, and no crowd. What do we do, Sammy?
Yeah.
So good stuff. Good stuff.
Made the most of the situation. Had another memorable moment on Dynamite. So, thumbs up for that. And Jericho on commentary was making fun of Cody's tattoo, saying it looked like something Excalibur painted when he was 5 years old. We had Adam Page come out, and the graphic read Adam Hands Wash Page. And it said on the graphic he's been social distancing since November. Oh, I forgot to mention earlier, the Best Friends, instead of hugging, they did the elbow bump to do the social distancing.
Yes.
So some funny little moments to make light of the situation right now. So we had this match, and good match here, pretty lengthy. We had Cody throwing Ortiz over the barricade onto MJF, and all hell started breaking loose at that point. Matt Jackson and Page were working together. They were actually going to do the Indie Taker, but Hager stopped that from happening, and then Santana picked up the pinfall victory over Matt, giving the Inner Circle the advantage in the Blood and Guts match. Jericho did a post-match promo, and he was great here too. He said he doesn't care if the world changes tomorrow. He is banning all fans from AEW events until he says so, because he doesn't want these pumpkin-headed dipshits cheering the Elite. And he said, Elite, they're outnumbered. Inner Circle, they've never had a problem. They've always been working together. They've never shown a crack in the armor. All they've done is dominate in AEW. And then Jericho started teasing Brandy, and Sammy Guevara lifted up his shirt saying, hey, call me if you want to hang out with a winner. And that's when all of a sudden, I love this reveal, by the way. Vanguard 1, the drone, appeared. Great stuff here. You knew exactly
I had no
what it was.
idea. I forgot about the drone thing.
Really?
I thought it was Moxley messing with him.
Seriously?
Swear to God.
Wow. I'm surprised
I completely tuned out on that it was Vanguard.
Interesting, because as soon as I saw it, I was like, holy shit, Vanguard won. I thought it was beautiful.
Yep. No recollection. Once somebody goes away, my brain just goes click. That's it. Over. So.
Well, there you go. So Vanguard 1 showed up, and then Matt got on the mic and said that They are not outnumbered. He made a phone call to a friend for a favor, and then we cut to up in the rafters or somewhere. Broken Matt Hardy showed up, and he did the delete, and it was announced that Matt Hardy will be the 5th member of Team Elite in the Blood and Guts match. So 2 debuts in one night. AEW went all out here to make this a memorable show. The question is, what do they do for the Blood and Guts match? Are they going to do it at the Hardy compound? Will there be a show next week? That's the only thing that seems to be a big question mark. But man, this was a home run show as far as I'm concerned. I mean, they had what I would say was the best possible show under the circumstances as possible. Your final thoughts on this week's show?
I think this was everything they could have done to make the most of it compared to the minimalist effort WWE has made. I mean, let me just spell it out real simply here. On the WWE's flagship show, we closed the show with the greatest of all time doing a routine in the ring and getting scorecards from Byron Saxton, who then took a Stone Cold Stunner or two. Okay. Then we had tonight. So they knocked it completely the hell out of the park. And what do they do next week? I think the match itself should be in the Hardy compound with the 2 rings, double cage, whatever. I think having a 2-hour show of the Hardy compound may be a little overkill.
Yeah. Now maybe they taped some matches on this show, and they could do some pre-tape matches from the arena and then do the match at the compound.
Yeah. What I would do is tape as much for Dark as you can, tape as much for next show as you can, and then film the Blood and Guts match at the Hardy compound or somewhere where they could keep the blood wedding contained, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. Nelson with a $2 super chat gives the show an A+. Now, I'm not doing letter grades for this period of empty arena shows, but I mean, this was an awesome show, and I'm going to say this, easily the best of these empty arena shows to date. Better than Raw and SmackDown, no doubt.
Yeah, this has been the best show since this whole shit started happening. Absolutely, no question about it.
And arguably, I mean, to me, this was as good as any of the best Dynamites. I mean, if it had the crowd, I would have said this was the best Dynamite of all time. Yeah,
and again, it tells you how important the crowd is. You know, the fact is, the gentleman here gave it an A+. It would have been an A+ if it had been, a regular week. No question about it.
Yeah. So brilliant show, as Noah Foster says, and
yes.
Let's talk about the WrestleMania situation here real quick. So another change. Which is
ever fluid.
Another change. Yeah. Another day, another change with WrestleMania. Seriously. So WrestleMania is now, it's still on for April 5th, but they are doing 2 nights. The first time in history, WrestleMania. This is something I've talked about. And I've brought up the idea, like, you have so many matches, why not just split it up into 2 nights?
Right.
So they're doing 2 nights of WrestleMania, Saturday, April 4th, and Sunday, April 5th, which means NXT TakeOver is definitely not happening.
It's officially done. Yeah, exactly.
April 4th. And Noah Foster is like glasses off for the WrestleMania talk. Now, not only that, but according to Ryan Satin, and also Dave Meltzer is backing this up, apparently this is going to be done at multiple locations. All of them closed sets, but they are going to do multiple locations. Psycho Jet Black just sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. He says, WrestleMania 2 Coronavirus Boogaloo.
That's a PWG reference, but I'll allow it. That's good. That's good shit. I dig it. Yeah, it's one of those things where, we've talked about WrestleMania being 2 nights because, if WrestleMania is all about everybody getting a match or getting the WrestleMania spot, then split it in 2 nights. That way everybody gets the opportunity. And if you're going to do an 8-hour show over one night, you might as well do 2 4-hour shows and, let the guys breathe. So, because I told a friend of mine today on Instagram, I was talking to her during the course of the day, this is going to be the last year I do my WrestleMania watch throughs each year because I'm freaking pooped watching these 8-hour, 2-hour pre-shows, 6-hour, it's exhausting when, and it really hit home when I watched 32 again, because you and I lived through that one and lost our hair as a result of that show. And it was just a long, goddamn show.
Yeah.
And I just can't imagine doing it ever again. So if they're going to split it up, I'm all about it. If they're going to do multiple locations, it's even cooler, I think, that they're making the most of the situation. However, with this, limited, travel, they're going to have to keep it contained somewhere in the state of Florida if they do it. And with Tampa already saying no, where are they going to go other than somewhere else in Orlando? And what if Orlando says no and shuts it down? Then they're really screwed.
All right, so we do have a couple of super chats here, and I'll give some of my thoughts on this.
Yeah, sorry, I kind of rambled on there.
Not a problem. Ken Terminated by Google with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Ken. He says, did the show give you the first Nitro vibes or the holy shit vibe when Hall and Nash appeared on Nitro? Too bad Planet Fitness closed, so I could not watch it. It just gave me the vibes of a really good wrestling show, whether it was a Raw from the Attitude Era or a Nitro from the 90s. It was just a fun show. And yeah, I love seeing the debuts, and both of them had really cool debuts. They were brought in strongly, and they both came off like big superstars when WWE was doing nothing with them. So yeah, I mean, actually it felt more like a great Raw episode than a great Nitro episode, because WWE over the years has always been really good about debuting people strongly. Like when Jericho debuted and when Scott Steiner debuted, WWE always made the newcomers come off like big deals in their first night. Both Brodie Lee and Matt Hardy came off like major stars in their debut appearances here for AEW. Right. So that's how you know they're doing it right. And Matt Phillips Reviews with a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Matt. Appreciate it. He says, what do you think of WWE doing a fundraiser type show with superstars answering the phones, doing matches, and cutting promos? So like a telethon? What do you think, Jeff?
Well, again, I said this yesterday on our review panel. I have a problem with the wrestling in general taking place, because think about it. Yeah, for example, the AEW guys are all in Jacksonville, Florida as of this moment, but Cody's going home to Georgia, and the Bucks are coming home to LA, and so-and-so is going to so-and-so, and they're going to fly back in next week. What are they going to be exposed to in 7 days?
Yeah.
I'm not saying completely isolate if you don't have to, but you've got everybody and their mother saying, hey, we need to crack down on this shit before it gets real, before it gets too real. And we've got wrestlers traveling all over the country back and forth between Raw, SmackDowns, and Dynamites to do tapings and bringing in, outside air.
Yeah, so, and maybe that's why WWE's not doing a lot of matches and not having guys doing all that much, because they want to keep these guys healthy for WrestleMania and not risk them getting sick.
The last thing either of us, you or I, need is a complete business shutdown, because we'll go freaking nuts but have nothing to do. But I think it's safer to do it that way. Now, if they're going to continue on and do WrestleMania, then yeah, let's not have any live events. Let's not have any guys, performing in the ring live or, in new stuff until April 4th.
All right, so we have the Game Is On 100 with the $2 super chat. Says they should do a Raw Mania and SmackDown Mania. Well, I had suggested the idea of doing WrestleMania matches on Raw and SmackDown, the lesser matches, but now they're going to do it in a different way with 2 nights of WrestleMania, which means probably we're getting those 14, 15, 16 matches or whatever, which I think is ridiculous at this stage of the game.
But you know what? There's a good point, though. If they're going to do a brand extension like they've been doing, they might as well have, the main event of the Raw show be Lesnar versus McIntyre, and the main event of the SmackDown show somehow be Goldberg versus Reigns. But have those, don't call it SmackDown Mania or Raw Mania, but yeah, WrestleMania Night 1 and 2, they can be split up brand wise. That actually makes perfect sense to me.
I mean, that's one idea, but it doesn't look like WWE is going in that direction now. Jordan Smith with a $5 super chat says, with WrestleMania having no crowd, does it change any of your predictions on any of the matches? So are we back to 15 or 16 matches? I mean, it does look like 15 or 16 matches. And yes, I am thinking a little bit differently, but we'll do the predictions on a future live stream But yeah, I will say, at least for me, I'm thinking we may see some different outcomes under the circumstances because it's not going to be in the big stadium. But we'll talk about that more later. Ken terminated by Google with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Ken. He says, will WrestleMania 36 be similar to WrestleMania 2? Remember WrestleMania 2? I'm sure JM remembers that wonderful event, and he used that in quotes. WrestleMania 2, your thoughts?
Well, I was 3, first of all, so I wouldn't remember it anyway. But second of all, no, I wasn't watching WrestleMania. I didn't start watching until just before Survivor Series 1990. However, a mutual friend of ours, Mr. Rift, was at WrestleMania 2, the Chicago portion.
Who is that?
Mr. Lee. Stagger Lee.
You're right. Old school NoDQ.com personality.
Stagger Lee and his father, I believe is that, were both at WrestleMania 2, and they saw the Bulldogs Dream Team match, and they saw the Battle Royal with Andre winning. So there is WrestleMania history of being more than one location, but at the same time, yeah, remember, in 86, Vince was trying to compete with Crockett any way he could, and Crockett had just done a double venue Starrcade in the same state. I mean, over in the same region of the country. One was in Carolina, one was in Georgia. So that's a little bit different than New York, Chicago, LA. I don't think they're going to have the talent, half the roster be in Florida, the other roster half be here in SoCal or something. I'm not saying it'll be in SoCal because it'll be in SoCal next year, but they're not going to do it like that. So I don't think it's going to be anywhere near like WrestleMania 2. I think it's going to be, honestly, a very bare bones, very lackluster, production-wise presentation of WrestleMania.
We'll see. We'll see if AEW influences WWE to change things up for the next couple weeks. But again, I think that WWE might be limiting themselves because of not wanting to risk the talents getting sick. I mean, AEW, they have no pay-per-view coming up anytime soon. Double or Nothing, and that is still up in the air at this point. Dylan Hensley with a $2 super chat. He said maybe the AEW guys are staying at a hotel nearby. I'm not sure what that's in reference to.
He's referencing the fact that I was bitching about the AEW guys flying back and forth. If they are, did they say where AEW is supposed to take place next week?
Well, I mean, I would presume it's going to be at Daly's place for the foreseeable future.
If it's at Daly's place, then I'm all for Dynamite taking place next week. Full talent, full roster, that's fine. But if they're going to fly to anywhere else in the country and go home in the process, that's problematic on my end. I sorry, that's just dude. I have a son who's missing school and who's missing time with his other family because they're trying to self-quarantine. So this whole quarantine thing is really renting space in my head. So.
All right, so yeah, make sure you guys stay tuned to NoDQ.com. Like I mentioned last night and Monday night and every night since all this craziness started, everything's changing on a daily basis. So if you guys get the chance, head over to NoDQ.com, and we got videos on there from AEW tonight. You could see Matt Hardy's debut, Brodie Lee's debut if you missed them. Jeff, go ahead with your plugs.
Anchor.fm/Jeff- or dash, whatever, Meacham. Looking to do a full take on this, pretty much, WrestleMania, talk about what the future may hold. Teespring.com/stores/The Night Shift for the Meachamania shirts. I'm also working on getting this on there. The shirt I had made up for my own page, can't really see it, but there's a slight little defect in the bottom of the shirt, so I'm working on getting the Night Shift to get that updated for me. Also going to get a hat, so hopefully I'll have my Talk Wrestling hat before too long. _ Jeff Meacham, Twitter, Instagram, JMeach Podcast on Twitter for the shows, the Jeff Meacham Network on Instagram, and you can find us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, all kinds of podcast networks. So check us out and stay tuned. Like Aaron said, Aaron and I will probably be on here tomorrow talking about the next WrestleMania change, so keep that in mind.
Yeah, we might. No updates on Wrestling Trivia Challenge, although maybe you and Greg will do something on your channel.
Here's what we're looking at. Thank you for reminding me of the same. I have emailed several people. They are in the queue to be on the show. Greg's work schedule is such that he doesn't line up with my availability to host the show. So it's one of those things where people are going to think he's trying to hang on to the title, and Maybe he is. But in this host's opinion, it'll be worth the wait, I promise you.
Well, with the coronavirus, maybe we'll have time now to bring it
I
back.
think if the coronavirus stays in effect for the next year, that he'll be the longest reigning champion since Bruno Sammartino. So there you go.
Well, he's well on his way. Anyways, guys, quick plug for tomorrow night. Again, no DQ debate.
Yes.
Virtue and Stefan will debate NXT versus AEW up to this point. Make sure you guys tune in for that. And of course, Aaron Rift on social media, no DQ, DOTCOM on social media. Follow all that stuff. Stay up to date. And thank you all for watching. Please spread the word if you enjoyed this video. And on that note, I will see you guys next time. Take care, everyone.